Hello and welcome to Ryno's Ravens preview. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel. We're getting closer. Start of football season is upon us. The first game of the NFL season will be Thursday night between the Baltimore Ravens and Kansas City Chiefs. This is assuming you were hiding under a rock and haven't realized any of this. Most people in this country know. Very exciting for some of us because of what happened last year and the Ravens getting pretty much embarrassed, I think. Just the way that they handled that game was terrible. Derrick Henry's here now, so a lot of us are thinking it's going to go a little differently. But, as you can see, I'm on BaltimoreRavens.com. I like to start with the injury report first and then go a little bit more and then say, let's say, storylines or something. Very strange here because usually, at least last few years, a lot of names on the injury report. Now we just see two. It's weird. Two names, Rasheen Ali and Adisa Isaac, both rookies. Ali dealing with neck injury, limited practice time Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. He is listed for doubtful. Is really looking like he's not going to go for a few reasons. One, because of the injury, and two, because he would, even if he does suit up, he's third on a depth chart. Is it worth making the injury worse for that guy that's on third? He's third on the depth chart. Will the third running back get some time in the game? Yes, absolutely. Is there, where's the difference between, the next two guys? Let's say a veteran named John Kelly and another rookie, Collier. Not too much of a drop-off. Especially because you're going to have Derrick Henry as the number one guy. Justice Hill probably is a drop-off between your number one and your number two. So, I don't look to see Ali in there because to me it just doesn't seem like there's a point. Unless he can go, Adisa Isaac, somewhat disappointing. He's dealing with a hamstring injury. Was kind of curious to see this guy play in a real game against a real blocking force. More of a pass rusher kind of guy, linebacker. And it's something that we in Raven country feel like we need more of. More pass rushers. Because Eric DeCosta seems to want to flood his depth chart, especially on the defense, with secondary people. Not that that doesn't make sense. It's just somebody's got to put pressure on the quarterback, and that can help your secondary out. They don't have to cover as long and easier because throws get, let's say, sped up. But Adisa Isaac, dealing with a hamstring injury, did not participate Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and is listed as out. So he won't play. Very disappointing. Key note for the opponent this week, old friend of ours, Marquise Brown. Now a Chief, huh? Okay. Because he had to trade up quarterbacks, huh? Get a lot of criticism for not being a good enough wide receiver. Like, oh, well, that's a quarterback's fault, apparently. However, bro. But he's listed as out, so we don't have to worry about him. Cool. That's really all that's noteworthy on the injury front. Let's get to some of the news articles written by their staff of the Ravens here. Get to this article written by Ryan Mink, the editorial director. And it's really outlining that Isaac not going to play. Ali might play, or it might be Mr. Kelly or Mr. Collier getting a nod at the third running back spot. But that brings me into the real storyline of this. Not huge changes by either team, really. Yes, there are departures and arrivals on both teams. I guess should say it's not that there's not huge changes. There is one huge change. Kansas City is relatively the same. Don't expect them to be any different. But for the Ravens, even though you lost a few pieces on defense, you did bring one in, you drafted a few. It's going to be relatively the same on defense. If anything, I think maybe the pass rush is a little weaker, which is disappointing. But we'll see how some of these young guys step up. Don't know. Jabo gets another chance to see if he can actually do something and stay on the field. Oweh, another season for him. Do something. Put pressure on the quarterback. It's a major change as far as, let's say, the results from the AFC Championship game to now. Why some people are getting excited for this game is during the trade deadline last year, it was rumored and reported and even admitted that the Ravens were interested in acquiring Derrick Henry back then. Had Derrick Henry been on the Ravens during that Chiefs game for the AFC Championship, how different would the game go? How different would the game have gone? Would the Ravens have ran the ball more than 6 times? I certainly hope so. You spent all that, I guess, draft capital it would have been to bring in Derrick Henry, would have gone differently. Now, you get why they didn't do it, price, whatnot, and you would have had to give up that draft capital for, when the hell is the trade deadline? Like a 10-game rental? I'm trying to think, when is the trade deadline for football? It's usually a lot earlier. For baseball, it's, past the half season mark. With football, it's usually before the half season mark. At least traditionally in years past. I think they did push it back a little bit just to get some more action going during the trade deadline, because if it's 4 or 5 weeks into the season, how many teams have thought they are out of it yet? Well, they're not going to trade people away. They think they still got a shot. The Ravens didn't pull the trigger on a Derrick Henry trade. They waited till the offseason to sign him to a 2-year contract. Derrick Henry going to be able to have that big of an impact in this game tomorrow, because today's Wednesday? People are going to start questioning Eric DeCosta and say, well, you should have got him last year in the trade deadline. We could have went to the Super Bowl. Who knows? I mean, based on Derrick Henry's past performances, yeah. Absolutely expected the Ravens to win that game. Because you would have given him the ball. Right? I mean, you would have ran the ball more than 6 times because you had a running back. You had, we'll say, an elite running back where you didn't. And that's probably why you didn't run the ball, I guess. You didn't think the running backs you had on the roster were good enough. Well, probably because you can't keep them healthy. You had Dobbins for 3 years. He missed 2 years because he got injured twice. Is it Dobbins' fault? Is it the NFL and football and it's their fault? Or is it the Ravens' fault for not being able to manage the health of their players? A little bit of a column A, column B, and column C probably. You had Gus Edwards, also no longer here. Dobbins, spoiler alert, not here either. Gus Edwards has missed time over the past 3 or 4 years as well. Shit, I keep forgetting the guy's name. Keaton Mitchell. Young phenom burst onto the scene. Approximately halfway through the season. Speedster. Real jolt to the offense. Injured in the knee. He is still with the organization. We are hopeful that he will make an appearance this year. Again, another running back injured. Again, is this the NFL? Is it the players? Or is it the organization? So while everybody's looking and it's like, oh, Derrick Henry, one of the best, if not best running backs in National Football League right now. Depends on how you look at it. I mean, Christian McCaffrey is kind of an all-purpose football player. He does happen to play running back, but he is probably as good of a wide receiver as he is a running back. Derrick Henry is probably more fits the mold of a running back. Turn around, hand him the football, and he just runs through people. Old school running back. Not that he can't catch. But again, he is now in the organization that, in my mind, destroys running backs. Maybe it is just the nature of the position. Tough to say, really. Because at some point, you have to be responsible for it. I mean, I don't know. However, we are all hoping, at least on this side, that Derrick Henry is going to be the change. You can't go into the game and do the exact same thing and expect a different result. Well, we're not expecting the same things to go, right? We are expecting change. We are expecting Derrick Henry, premier elite running back, to get a lot of touches. Whereas we did not have that in the previous game. Other thing noteworthy is why maybe Derrick Henry's numbers aren't as big as they were is some people say lack of playmakers around him in Tennessee and lack of blocking. Well, all good running backs do need a blocking front. Some sort of blocking front. Was it a bad group in Tennessee? I don't know. What's the group like in Baltimore? I still say there's not a huge change. Stanley's still at left tackle. Linderbaum's still at center. Those are some of the key parts of the offensive line, and even some of the other guys that are quote-unquote starting on the depth chart have been in the organization for years and have seen and saw lots of playing time last year. And that's Falele starting at right guard, at least listed on the depth chart anyway. And McCary listed as the starting right tackle on the depth chart. Roger Rosengarten is listed as McCary's backup. Now, we all saw the rotation that was going in there at tackle last year, and it seemed to work fine. We do look to see some of that. You do want to see Rosengarten get some experience this year. He's going to need it. I mean, he's going to need to play at least some, just to try to limit the wear and tear on some of these players. Another position is Andrew Voorhees. Andrew Voorhees was not drafted last year, but he was drafted the year before. He was drafted late in the draft, much later than he probably should have went, but he was injured. And he was injured, and that's why you're able to draft him late. And essentially something that Eric DeCosta has done is draft injured players late, deal with them being injured for a year, essentially stashing them, and almost kind of like getting another draft pick this year. Going to make the start at left guard. At least that is what we think is going to happen. We don't really know what's going to happen until the game actually starts. That's why, this is only speculation at this point, really. Are they going to be able to get it done? Question marks around the Ravens' offensive line last year. Not very good at pass blocking. Not very good in general. Seemed like they were slow at the snap to be able to get in good pass blocking position. Run blocking, they were fine. But most offensive linemen are. It's very easy. You're going forward instead of backwards. Going backwards is hard. But again, with the addition of Derrick Henry, does that help an offensive line? You have a better running back there. Is that going to make an offensive line look better? It can. And you know what? Offensive line plays good, can make the running back look good too. So, and you know what? If you have a good running game, it can make your quarterback look good too. See what kind of change Derrick Henry can have on this offense. Yeah, it's about time for football to start, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, it's like we got this new toy here in Baltimore, and it's like, oh, I want to play with my new toy. I want to play with it. I want to play with it. You know, it's like you can't take it out of its wrapper until you get Christmas Day. And you can tear open the wrapping paper. Well, Christmas Day comes early. And as we go to the schedule and I wrap this video up, Christmas Day for Ravens fans feels like it will be September 5th, 2024 instead of December 25th. We get to unwrap our new toy and play with it. It does sound weird to like a grown-ass man to a toy that you would receive on Christmas. Yeah, I kind of went with it because it just seemed kind of right, but you stop and you think about it. That's weird. It's weird. But to a certain extent, it's true. We're excited to see him in action. In a purple uniform. Or is it going to be a black uniform? I don't know. Whatever color the Ravens are wearing Ravens colors. And as I said, September 5th is when the Baltimore Ravens will be playing the Kansas City Chiefs to open up the NFL season. Game will scheduled to start at 8:20. You know how that kind of goes sometimes. Ads and pregame hoopla and whatnot. From Geha. Or do they just say Geha? Whatever. Geha Field at Arrowhead Stadium. So it's not just Arrowhead Stadium anymore. Well, you got to make that money, right? So while that will do it for this edition of Ryno's Ravens Preview, today being Wednesday, tomorrow night, Thursdays, when the game will be, and my schedule, I'm going to say stay tuned for Saturday for the Ryno Ravens review, and I will go over the game between the Baltimore Ravens and the Kansas City Chiefs. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel. I am the Angry Ryno. Fly Ravens, fly.